place the name of the gentleman that's going to be with us in December?
His name is Glenn Bartley.
Okay, he is really excited about sharing with us. It'll be on our normal third Wednesday of the month. And he's going to be doing a Zoom meeting. So that's December. I'll back up to November. November will be done a Zoom meeting by Russ Barneveld, James Zeman, and Steve Port. And what they've done is they've kind of done something unique. They've taken 3 images and they've each processed them how they wanted to process them. And then they're going to share their procedures and exactly what they did to these images. So it should be a fun night with people you know. And then Lisa Langel's going to be with us in January. February, as I understand, we're not going to have a meeting.
Well, we'll probably talk about that at the board meeting, but it's okay. Normally our awards banquet, but how we are going to handle that with remote.
Maybe we'll be together by then.
Oh, maybe. Maybe.
I just got a note from my other camera club. It's Grand Valley Artists, and they're going to start meeting next month in person. So that'll be kind of fun. And maybe we should think towards that end soon. So, but it's an option.
Yeah, we decided that last night at a meeting that we would do that. And the reason was we don't have as big a turnout as you do with the Grand Rapids Camera Club for our group. So we can still all wear masks and socially distance and still have our critique meeting. So that's what we're planning on for next month.
So anyway, so yeah, and Glenn Bartley is going to be giving a program on it's bird photography. Glenn is a world-renowned bird photographer. He does not live here and doesn't live in Michigan. Actually, I don't even know where he lives, but Kelly, I'm sure you've heard of him, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
So very, very excited about that one. I am, but I'm a bird photographer. So
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Okay. So, well, that's the future, but shall I introduce Kelly now or?
Yes, go ahead and introduce Kelly. And I've started the recording. So we're recording so that those that were not able to attend can watch it. So don't do anything you wouldn't want to be seen by others or say anything you wouldn't want to be said by others. And I will, when Kelly starts, I'm going to mute everyone so that she can give her presentation. She's going to share her screen. And if you have questions, probably the best thing to do is to open up the chat window and type your questions into the chat window, and I will be monitoring that so that we can, and Kelly's going to try and pause a little between sections to see if there are any questions. So that said, go ahead and do your intro, Evie, and then we'll mute everybody.
Well, I'm just so very excited that Kelly is sharing with us tonight. She is an amazing wildlife and underwater photographer. She goes around the world. She does these amazing trips. She takes people with them. They do adventures, and she is going to share about her pursuit of this Bullwinkle moose. She calls him Bullwinkle, and all the adventures she ensued along the way. And her bio is in our newsletter, so be sure and read that. And also she shares about some computer hacking that she had done as well. And I just really recommend that read because it's good for all of us to know how to back up and back up properly. Because yeah, nothing is sacred out there. So thank you so much, Kelly. We appreciate you. We're looking forward to tonight.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and mute everybody. For those of you who have just joined us, if you want your video on, you need to turn your video on. I'm going to mute you so you can't interrupt, but if you have any questions, put them in the chat screen. So here we go. I'm gonna mute all and then I will whoops. And then I have to unmute. Kelly, go ahead and unmute yourself.
It doesn't look like you muted anyone.
Where'd she go?
Kelly's muted, but looks like everyone else is not muted.
There we go. Now she's unmuted.
I am unmuted.
Okay, is everybody else muted? I
Doesn't look like
don't
it.
think so.
Oh,
All right, y'all mute, everybody go and mute yourself, please, except for Kelly.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can see your
Yes.
screen.
Okay, if you can see it, then they all can see my screen. That's awesome. Okay. Well, hi. I feel like I kind of am back home. I miss everybody. I miss all of you since I've taken Florida residency. I typically not here during your meetings, so it's really nice to be back. And I thank you, Evie, for asking me to come and present. And I thank all of you for hopping on, and good to see you all. I follow most of you through Facebook. Those of you who don't, I miss you. So anyway, hi. This program is the Pursuit of Bullwinkle. And for some of you who know me, you are well aware of this pursuit of mine. And it's been a long pursuit, actually. And I found this quote that was put by Winston Churchill, that success is going from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. And that's exactly what I have done, is gone from failure to failure. I have been around the country for these things. And every day, every time I went in, I'm very excited. We're going to find him this time, and I don't. So, with that said, here is my pursuit. And we all have a story. Every one of you do. You all have a story about your photography, about certain pictures or certain bodies of work. Where does your story begin? Mine begins with a desire to photograph a large bull moose, who I call Bullwinkle. I've traveled the world photographing both underwater creatures and wildlife on land. I'm a persistent person, so my luck has been pretty good at finding photographic subjects, except for one, Bullwinkle. This became an 8-year pursuit for me. I have traveled the United States in all of the moose hotspots trying to find him. Some places I have returned to several times. I've invested a lot of money and time traveling, sitting, watching, and waiting to find that bull moose. I'm beginning to think that it is a unicorn, and it just simply doesn't exist. Except for the fact that everyone else seems to see them and photograph them but me. And to even make it worse, they put it on Facebook, so I get to see that they saw him and I didn't. So my brother lives in Wasilla, Alaska, and he insists that I come up there. It's impossible not to see them, he tells me. These are his words, not mine. So off I go to Alaska in a month of November. Typically, it's a good time in Alaska. This time I was there, not so much so. It was the coldest and snowiest November in history for them. It was like 4 below. Now, for those of you all who do know me, you know that I live in southern Florida because I don't like the snow and cold. They had a blizzard, so it was even worse. And it was the coldest that I think I have ever been in my life. I slept in clothes and socks and fleece just to stay warm. So he takes me to his always spot, the place where they always seem to see the moose. Standing there, he's absolutely stumped.
Kelly, Kelly, can I interrupt for a minute here?
Yeah,
Have you been changing your screen?
no, I haven't touched it.
Okay, because we're still seeing the same image. I didn't know whether you had gone to another image.
Nope, not yet.
Okay, all right, fine.
So standing there, he says, sis, I've never not seen them here before. Just my luck. And I'm singing the lyrics to Drift Away in my head. And I must confess that I took some artistic liberties here, if you're familiar with the song. The chorus goes like this: give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I want to get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. Well, in my head, I changed it a little bit to give me the big boys and free my soul. I want to get lost. Yeah, well, you get it. So that song will repeat itself many more times in my pursuit of Bullwinkle. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is a big area for moose. I spent hours and days driving up and down the willow flats along the river. Plenty of cows, but no Bullwinkle. Skunked again. I've traveled to Jackson Hole on 3 different occasions, spent lots of time driving around to the recommended spots along the willows and flats that surround Jackson Hole. I saw a few cows, but again, no Bullwinkle. While there, I also went to Yellowstone National Park without any luck. Outside of the park, I did see a small young male, so things are starting to get a little bit better. I ventured into Colorado. I've done 5 elk ruts in Estes Park, no luck on the moose, as well as a previous trip into Brainerd Lake for moose. When I got there, the photographers were standing around talking of how the moose had been there all week long. They'd been photographing them all week. I get there and they're gone. It's hard not to believe that there's a curse on me for seeing this big moose. I've been to Walden, Colorado on 3 different occasions as well. This is a popular area for moose. It sits high up on a plateau in the mountains. There's nothing around Walden, Colorado. Places to stay are very limited. Restaurants are very limited. I've been up there on 3 different occasions. And it works as long as you get there before hunting season and the rut. The first 2 times I saw plenty of cows and babies, but not the big guys. On my 3rd trip, I finally found the big male, Bullwinkle. I was happy to get some beautiful photographs of him, but I did not see any other males the whole time close enough to capture images of. Yeah, that song is still quietly playing in my head. Now, while I was up in Walden, it was raining the night I did see Bullwinkle. It was late in the day. I pulled off the road to get some photos of him. Grass was high. Didn't realize there was a ditch at the bottom of that wet, slopey grass. Yeah, you guessed it. I slid right on down. Now there's no traffic up there. The hotel is 21 miles away and there is no cell service whatsoever. So I was pretty sure I was spending the night in my car that night. And 2 good Samaritans, a father and son, came along, crawled under my car. I was so into that ditch that they had to pull me out from the back of my car. But they got me out. I got my moose. So that was a start. So kind of what's important about all of this pursuit is to do your homework, no matter what it is that you're after. If you're after a certain flower and it doesn't even grow in that state, you aren't going to find it, guys. Same thing goes with time of day. You need to know location. You need to know the right season. You need to know if your subject is active at a certain time of day, if they lay down in the heat of the day. You will not find them in the afternoon and the high sun hours. So do your homework. I went to Baxter, Maine, where professional photographers lead workshops photographing the moose. The first stop was to the ranger station, which I recommend you do when you go to places like that. They're usually very happy to tell you what sightings there are and where they are. So off to the ranger station I am to get the tips of the best areas in the park to view the moose. Yeah, he laughed at me. The moose rut started 24 hours before my arrival, and I was informed that they have all headed to the woods for a month of what moose do during rut. I was out of luck once again. As I stepped out of the ranger station, one did run past at a very high rate of speed, and I caught a glimpse of his butt. No photographs. And at that moment, once again, the song Drift Away played in my head. So what time does your subject come out to eat? Is it baby season or nesting for them? In the rut season, do they march around out in the open and protect their territory, calling and bellowing? Or will they have hightailed it into the woods? Do your homework. This guy I found in Colorado this summer when I was out after the moose. And obviously the rut season is about to start for him. That's all the velvet from his horns hanging. And there's all little blood vessels in it. So when he scrapes it off and it is coming off, it does bleed. It does not hurt him at all, but it makes for a very cool look. So here's a good example of doing your homework. I was already in California when Lewis Kemper posted on Facebook that California was having one of its largest poppy blooms ever. I contacted him and he gave me the location, which was about 4 hours from where I was. My husband, being such a good sport, said, let's go. And we hightailed it off to find the poppies. The poppies were everywhere. And soon enough, we found a beautiful field. They were just growing up the mountainside. It was stunning. And I wandered out. I found the perfect location to photograph these beautiful orange flowers. There were even some small areas out in the field where I could lie down and really work on my subject. I was working away, leaving Wayne in the car to read, and a female utility worker stops on the side of the road. She gets out of her truck and she starts calling me over. Hey, you. Me? Yeah, you. Come here. Well, you know, I'm busy, but slowly I make my way to her, but I'm not real happy to be disturbed in the middle of my shoot. She promptly wants to know, what am I doing? Okay, I don't want to be Captain Obvious here. I kind of, set up with a tripod, and a camera. So I just kind of say I'm photographing the poppies. She says to look at her. And she looked at me like I was nuts. She thought I'd lost my mind. She said, do you see what I'm wearing? And I look at her and I see she's got her high work boots on, some kind of leather chaps over her legs for whatever, and a long sleeve work shirt on. So I'm not sure what she really wanted me to say at that point. So I just kind of nodded my head and said, yeah, I see what you're wearing. So she didn't call me stupid, but she did proceed to inform me that it's the breeding season for the Mojave rattlesnake and the fields are filled with them. She sees hundreds of them a day while working out there. That is why she has the boots, the chaps, the long sleeves, all of it's even required by her employer. Snakes. Oh no. I do not like snakes. I do not do snakes. I want nothing to do with a snake. And if you remember, when she called me over, I was laying in the field. I didn't bring my camera, my tripod back when I went back to talk to her. So now I have to make my way back to my equipment to where I was. I don't really want to do this, but there's a lot of money in that field sitting there with that camera and that tripod. So there I go, kind of tiptoeing through the field there, around the poppies. making sure I'm making a lot of noise. I'm slapping at my legs just to make sure there's even more noise. I'm even calling to the rattlesnake saying, go away, go away. I won't hurt you. And I tiptoe back over there. I never once even looked up, only down, because there was no way I was going to step on one of those things. I am sure that I was quite the sight from the road. Of course, Wayne never noticed because his nose is still buried in his book while I'm out there risking life and limb now. So I returned to my car immediately after getting my equipment. I'm done now. Whatever pictures I got are good to go. I'm quite happy. And I walk around the car and I went to go get into it. And I look down as I'm reaching for the door handle, and laying right there is that snake. And that's where I need to get into the car. Needless to say, I didn't get in the car for a while. I waited for him. And I did my research after the fact. And I found out that it's the most venomous snake in the United States. And I should have done my homework beforehand. And then I might not have put myself into so much danger. So do your homework. It's really important. So let's fast forward to 2020, the year of the COVID panic, the year when everyone is supposed to be hunkered down now. I've had this trip planned for 8 months to meet up with friends who have a scoop on where to find the moose. Some of you know them. That's actually Lori Huff and Weldon Lee. So the trip was touch and go, government restrictions, but in the end, we were able to go. So, which was good. I had a bunch of trips this past winter that were canceled. So I was pretty anxious to go. So I decided to go early and spend a few days in Rocky Mountain National Park before meeting up with my friends. I left on a Thursday morning and we took the camper, didn't have to then stay in hotels, and I could cook in, and, you know, trying to do this COVID thing as best as, that's a lot of holding down for me, as you guys know. So I did what I could, and drove, and on Thursday morning, we drove from Michigan, drove 7-hour drive, and I get a text from Lori. Don't know if you've heard, but a wildfire has broken out in Colorado, and it's the Cameron Lakes area. They've closed it. They have closed the road to get there. They're talking about evacuating it. Of course, that's where we were headed. That's where I had reservations. Can't even get there. So I can't help but to think, you got to be kidding me. I am busted again. So we decided to keep going, and we did go and went into Estes Park, and I had a campground there. And while waiting to meet up with Lori and Weldon to make our alternate plans, because obviously we're not going after the moose, we did take a gamble and ventured back into Brainerd Lake National Park. This is a very good park. It's part of the Estes Park area, and your park pass does get you into it, but it is not the same entrance as if you're going into Rocky Mountain National Park, and they are very well known for the moose that's there. So the first trip I went in on an evening, and it was a reconnaissance mission. And after setting up my sights at where the best place to see this moose was going to be, I set my alarm for 4:30 a.m. and headed back down to Brainerd Lake, arriving still at dark. I like to get there early. I like to get set up. I like to be prepared. And the beauty too is there's not many people when you're up at that early hour in the morning. You don't really have to fight with a tremendous amount of people. There are a few of us out there, but not many. So I set up my camera and I waited. And it happened. It finally happened. The sun came up over the top of the mountain and illuminated the Willow Flats. Standing there eating their breakfast was not one, but two large, huge bull moose, Bullwinkle, at last. And a bonus, two, not one. I spent 3 hours in that field alongside the road, and I photographed to my heart's content. They ate, they posed, they even crossed the road in front of me, and they hung out. When I left, they had laid down in the field for a while, then they got up, they walked into the woods, the sun was too high, and that was it. Success, success at last. Bullwinkle, he is not a unicorn. My curse has finally been broken, and I saw many of them around Rocky Mountain National Park every day. Questions? I can take some questions. Wow. Anything, Jan?
No, I don't have any questions in the chat,
Oh, all right.
but let me unmute everyone here. If I can.
I do have a quick question,
Yeah.
Kelly. You mentioned the word rut.
Yes.
What were you talking about?
That is what they call when some of your larger animals go into heat or it's their breeding season for deer, elk, moose. I don't know if there's other animals that they also, but it's called the rut, and it's spelled R-U-T. So, and it's a very high energy time for those types of animals. I go, like I said, I go watch the elk rut. The elk form harems, and the males fight each other for this harem of females. There can be 8 to 24 or so females in his harem, and he's claiming the breeding rights to all of those. The elk will stay up and guard and protect his harem from other elk, and they will do this 24/7 until they have all gone into heat. And they go into heat for such a short period of time that he's constantly sniffing and trying to decide when his time is it. And they will fight, they will bugle, they will call out, they will mark their territories by spraying urine all over. They'll dig up the dirt, they'll dig their antlers into the dirt and have all this green grass and foliage hanging from them, decorating them, thinking they look even more beautiful. It's a really incredible thing to watch. If you haven't seen a rut before, it's well worth going out and doing that. I went 5 times. I don't get sick of it. Now, Wayne, the last couple of times I went out, he would drive me out there and then he would fly out and go to work. And then he'd fly back in and say, well, you done now? Can we go? How many pictures can you take of this? But it's so cool to watch. The moose are a little bit more discreet by it because they go more into the woods and kind of into hiding, where the elk bring it right out in the open. You don't even have to leave your car. You can just photo out your window, actually.
Okay, we do have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I will say, so others can hear, if you do have a question at this point, you can unmute yourself and ask, but I will go ahead. Kathy Kendall wanted to know, how far away were you from them?
Had I not moved, when they crossed in front of me, I could have touched them. But moose they have a very small brain for as large of an animal they are and as large as their head is. They have a very, very small brain. And so it's believed they don't do a tremendous amount of processing like we would, like you would think. So they can be very mean or very temperamental. So they were far away. I had my, I didn't have my 600 fixed, but I did have my, what is it, 100 maybe to 600, the Tamron lens that came out 2 years ago. I had that lens with me.
150 to 600?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And I had that on. So I tried to stay back at a respectable distance, and I used my car sort of as a blind in case for some reason he got agitated. I did not want to take a chance of getting, trampled over by him. They can be very dangerous animals.
So one question you just answered was the lens. What lens did you use? So these were shot with the 150 to 600?
They were shot with the 150 to 600, and I started in the dark. So the first shots out were dusk. The two shots on probably on your right-hand side as well, where there's the stack shots. Actually, those two were taken just after, I don't even think the sun had really completely come up yet.
Okay.
So nice low light lens. Yeah, I was very happy with the lens.
Okay. Another question was, what month did you go there? What month was this?
This I did I went in August. So it was before the moose rut. And it actually was also before the elk rut. You saw a picture earlier of the elk with the velvet hanging. I took that. That was right in town, in one of the lakes in town there. And that was the first one I had seen in rut. The ones up in the mountains still had all the velvet on their antlers and everything. So this was in August, and the moose were very active when I was there in August. I saw them every day, which was a real treat after going 8 years of not being able to see one. That was, yeah, we kind of laughed about it. And we saw people stopped ahead, and Wayne said, they see something. I said, of course they do. They see a moose. We're going to see moose now all the time because, it's done now. The joke's over. Kelly's seen her moose.
So were they in velvet when you saw them, or had they dropped their velvet?
They were in velvet still.
Okay.
They're still in
Because
velvet.
the rut is usually in September, isn't it?
For them, it's in September. The elk or the moose are a little bit earlier in rut. The larger the animal, the little bit earlier the rut, because the gestation period is a little bit longer as well.
Okay.
So same thing if you go out to Yellowstone for the bison rut. That's real interesting to watch as well. And that can be the end of August, the beginning of September. They're not quite at the elevation that Colorado is at.
So I was concentrating on letting people in and out and looking at the chat. So I missed hearing where you said, were these in Rocky Mountain National Park or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we were supposed to have gone to the Canyon Lakes or the Cameron Lakes area in Colorado. I guess that's a very huge area for the moose. And I was going with Weldon and Lori, and then another photographer friend of mine out in Colorado has a home out near there. And he actually had contacted me and said, okay, here's where we're finding them. Here's where they're at. He's the same guy that sent me up to Walden, Colorado, which I had not heard of before. And I've been up there 3 times. I've been up there for the moose. So yeah.
All right.
So Colorado it is.
Kelly,
Yes.
I think I have the solution to that 8-year-long search. I think you were just working at it too hard. There's a little town on the far side of Rocky Mountain National Park. You go over Trail Ridge,
Yeah.
and down into Grand Lake.
Yes.
Well, my
I've been
sister
there.
lived up with her husband up on the side of the mountain above Grand Lake.
Nice.
And we went into town in July a few years back on 4th of July to watch their fireworks show, which is over the lake. It's wonderful. And we're headed down there, and we're on this town has like maybe 3 streets. So we're like on 3rd Street. And just walking down the road, no traffic. And I'm walking in the center of the paved road. And my brother-in-law says, stop. And he says, look up. And it was a slight grade up the hill, and I look up, and on the same path as I am, only coming down the hill, is this mountain of a bull moose. And we're on a collision course.
Oh, no.
So I looked for the nearest tree to make myself invisible. And while trying to take pictures of him, which I failed miserably, I had my camera with me, but I was so rattled by this time, and he was so big that I thought, now I know why nobody wants to tangle with these guys.
Oh my goodness, exactly. My head didn't come up to the top of their shoulders. They're huge.
They're
man.
very big.
And you
I
know,
didn't see a bull, but I saw several cows and babies in Alaska. We have a couple other questions. Cynthia Howard, she wanted to know, she said, was it a Tamron lens? And yes,
yes,
the answer to that question is yes.
yep.
She also asked, what is your current quest?
You know, I've thought about that since, and it gets hard because you know, I'd love to find a den with a mountain lion raising our baby, but at some point you kind of got to be a little bit realistic as well. I'm not sure that will ever happen in my lifetime. I did see one in the wild. I was on my my photo workshop that I do in Montana, and one of the captive ones that we were photographing was in heat, and she was screaming and crying. It was her first time in heat, and she didn't know what was going on with her body, and she just was miserable. This poor cat was miserable, and we did not ever photograph her, but she was in her carrier that they had taken, so they were getting her used to traveling around, even being in heat. And she was calling and calling and calling, and all of a sudden, here he comes, and he ran right on through, and he ran right across the valley, and he kept right on going. He saw there were people and stuff there, and they're pretty elusive. So my next quest, you know, I'm not sure. Something. I've been, yeah.
Hopefully it won't take you 8 years to.
I hope not. I have seen things that people go a lifetime underwater for, and I'm like, well, yeah, you know, he was right there. I've seen the mola sunfish. I've found the tigers in India. I'd like to do more tiger work. That probably would be the next thing. Is I did see the tigers when I was at Rathenborn, and I spent 4 days, I think.
Where was this?
India.
In
Rathenborn, India. It was National Park in India. I did spend 4 days in there, and finally on my last and final drive, we did finally find the tiger, and I got some very cool pictures of the tiger. But I'd like to go back and do some more work with them. So maybe that's my next quest, is to get a nice body of work of the tiger now.
Kelly, a
Yes.
good place to look for moose in Rocky Mountain National Park is near Grand Lake, where the flats are.
Yes.
Last time I was there, I saw twins,
Oh,
young twin moose.
nice.
I mean, they were great. It was a male and a female. And also we saw lots of the big guys. So definitely next time you're out there, go try it.
I have been to that area all 5 times that I went in for that is part of this. You're starting to get my story here. Everyone else goes there and you all see them. I show up and they're nowhere to be found. It's they're in a corner. I've got some.
Did you call them ahead of time?
Pardon me?
Did you call the moose hotline and get them there?
You know, I do. I call in advance. I tell them I'm coming, you know,
Because
just
that's
come.
probably,
Yeah, I promise. I just want some pictures.
that was probably the problem.
I think so. I go to all those hot spots. I go over and over. It's not like I show up and say, okay, well, if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, I'm there at dark. I leave when the sun gets high. I go back later in the day. I've done my, you know, I'm a nerd. I read animal behavior books in bed at night. Yeah, it's, you know, I don't know what to say, but I figure if I know their behaviors, I know what to look for, that will help me in my photography pursuit as well. And a prime example of that would be, I had a underwater encounter with a 6-foot green moray eel. And it came up to me and it just circled my body and right up against me. One that's incredibly abnormal. They don't do that. And then it kind of went out and like kissed my cheek as such. And of course I jumped a mile. Their teeth are faced backwards. So when they bite, when they pull out, they rake. And of course, you know, I'm checking, do I still have a face left? And the people that were around me right away asked, are you okay? We can't talk, so we have to rely on sign language. You okay? And I said, I'm okay. Scared me, but I'm okay. And he circled back around and he swam off and he grabbed a fish. And I looked at Wayne and I said, let's go. And he said, no. And I said, okay. And I went. I knew he'd follow me. He wasn't going to let me go by myself. So he did follow me. And sure enough, that eel took that fish and there was a female one lying at the bottom in the coral. And she was a good 6 foot as well. And he gave that fish to her. And then they rubbed heads and snuggled up. And then they entwined like a snake would. And I have it all on, I have pictures. They made it. But because I knew this was not normal behavior, I knew something was up. So I went and followed to see what was going on. So it was a really cool experience. But again, it's about, knowing what is normal and abnormal behaviors or what kinds of behaviors. You see a bird doing a real funny kind of dance, and you think, wow, he's scaring me away, when in actuality, there's probably a female around and he's probably doing a dance, trying to woo the female. Stick around. I've got turkeys mating from the same thing. He was strutting around and calling around, and this was at Smoky Mountains down in Kate's Cove. And Wayne came up and he said, okay, you got your pictures. How many do you need? You ready to go? And I looked at him and I sat down on the ground and I said, I'm not going anywhere. This is weird behavior, because she's kind of strutting and then she sits down or she lays down. I said, something's going to happen here. I don't know what yet, but I said, I'm not going anywhere. So, he kind of heavy sighed and rolled his eyes and sat down. And later he said, holy cow, how did you know? I said, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I did know that this wasn't normal. So, do your homework, read those nerdy books. It's okay.
We have another question from Tom
Yep.
Harrington. Wants to know if you photographed breaching humpback or orca whales.
I have not. Alaska is on my go back to list. I have a brother in Alaska, and I love my brother a lot, but it's a lot better with him in Alaska and me in Florida. So I go there and I visit, but we have to, he self-medicates natural methods, and life revolves around that, if y'all get what I mean. It's hard to go there and he wants to spend time and he doesn't want to photograph. So one of these times I need to go and I need to do some whale watching and some boat trips and be there a week before I really tell him I'm there. So I've done some of the whale watching and the breaching and that kind of thing in Hawaii. I grew up in Hawaii as a kid. I lived there for 3 years. But I haven't done the orcas. Of course, are in the cold water. So yeah, that should happen. We had a whale shark right here off the back bay of where I live. I went out looking for him. We didn't find him. He didn't belong in the back bay. So he was trying to find its way out. It probably chased something coming in. But yeah, so I've done some of that kind of stuff, but there's a lot of cool opportunities out there yet to do.
I'd like to, for anyone who might be interested in looking for moose or other wildlife, I follow a guy, his name is Mike Jackson.
Yeah.
And his website is Best of the Tetons. And I know he does, I think he does one-on-one
Yes, he does.
workshops if you happen to be in the area. Just saying, for those who might be interested.
You're right. You think you're right out there.
Kelly, you were going to mention a little about the SwimC
Yep, that's at the end.
webinars.
Yep, I got it. It's coming. I'm almost done. I just paused because I hadn't asked her questions, so I hadn't.
Okay, all right.
So my challenge to you guys is, you all do beautiful work. I've seen all of your work. You all have things that you're pursuing as well, but what do you do with it after you've got it? And those stories are the cool part of your photography. Those are the part that brings your photography meaning to you. And when it means something to you, when you're passionate enough about that, it overflows to other people as well. And people do like to hear your stories. And how you tell your story is up to you. Whether you put them in books that you keep, there's so many publishing companies right now that come out and you can self-publish your own book. You don't have to publish 500 copies of your book. You can publish for you. You can do this for your friends or your family. One of our past Camera Club members who has moved to Texas a long time ago now, he every year does a book. He collects his photography for the year, and every year he puts out a book. I have another friend who I met her through Facebook. She does some of my workshops, but we were friends before that. And she puts out for family and friends, she does a calendar every year. And she does a month-by-month photo of some of her favorite things throughout the year. Those are all great ways to kind of get your story out of there. A personal blog for those of you who write. I try to write. I say I'm going to do this. I quit with New Year's resolutions because they just don't work for me, because it's almost like as soon as I set a rule, then I need to break it. So I just need to not set rules for myself. But a blog is another great way to go ahead and share some of those stories. You'll be amazed at how many people will start to follow stuff like that. And, if you really have a knack for it, there's publications out there that will take your stories and take your stuff. Carrie Polvins, I don't know if she's a member still of Camera Club. She's been in and out of Camera Club. I think they live in the Holland area right now. And she writes for different publications that are out there, everything from Birds and Blooms to some of the other wildlife magazines that are out there. And
I
she's
think Carrie is actually doing a program for us in March, right, Evie?
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. She's beautiful work. Her and her husband Joe both just do beautiful stuff. And Carrie's been very successful with that. So if she doesn't tell you about it, somebody ask her about it, because that's been a nice way for her to get her stories out. So I challenge you, tell your story in some way, get it out there, make it have meaning. Some of the other places you can find me, Facebook. I'm not great with Instagram. I know, Jan, you're like the Instagram queen. Someday you're gonna have to sit and show me how to do better with that. Twitter. There's lots of places you can do that. You can even WordPress, you can do your own blogs through WordPress. Steve, I think you're Steve Port, I think you're real big in SmugMug, if I'm not mistaken. I know there are different times I go in and find your work there. Yeah, so that's places I am. Kind of my thing. I always put in my programs, life is not about how many breaths you take, but how many moments take your breath away. And that actually hangs in both of my homes, my Michigan home and my Florida home. And it's nice to know that that curse has finally been broken for me. Sprague Lake is another great place. That's where a lot of the moose pictures were. They really were hanging around Sprague Lake. He was in the lake. He was outside the lake. They were all over out there. So Sprague Lake in Estes Park is another good one, right up in Rocky Mountain. And of course, you can guess the music now plays in my head, but it's my version from Drift Away. Give me the big boys that freed my soul. I got lost in your rock and roll and drifted away. Yeah. So I have to do my little bit. Thank you to ProLab Express. If you guys print, they are a great place to print. They're located right in town. Great guy to work with. He's done all my art prize pieces. Hunt's Photos, a big sponsor, Swimsea for us. For those of you who come to Swimsea, you've probably met Gary and Hunt's Photo. We'll talk more about Hunt's Photo in a little bit. I just bought a brand new camera less than a week ago. And Gary hooked me up fine. And Photo Pro has picked me up as well. They are a manufacturer of a very lightweight and easy to use tripod that I'm absolutely in love with. Eventually you'll see a blog out about that because I'm in the process of putting together a blog and a video for him. So thank you. Thank you for having me. Any other questions about this program before I go and just run? I think I have 3 swimsuit slides for you or something, nothing big.
There was a comment that just, Kelly, you really have 9 lives, encounters with wild animals.
Thank you.
I think you answered the other questions.
Okay, super. I'm gonna look at swimsuit summer. The summer weekend of photography is scheduled for July 29th, 30th, and August 1st of 2021 at Hope College. I have the college reserved. I have my speakers set. So we're ready to rock and roll with that. So hopefully by then we'll have this COVID thing under control and we will be able to go forward with this. I am positive that life won't be back to where it was beforehand. So we will be looking at, and as my board will be looking at ways that we will be complying and doing the what we need to do to keep people safe and take the precautions that are being recommended by the health department. So we are planning on swimsuit, and Lisa has agreed to come as our feature speaker, and Tamaron is sponsoring her. So we're really excited about that. And then with that in mind, swimsuit, since we didn't meet this year, worked closely with Gary from Hunts, and these came up with doing a series of free webinars via Zoom. So the same platform that you guys are meeting at, we're gonna Zoom some different programs from that Hunts is underwriting for us. So these are going to be free. These are free for Camera Club. They're free for your friends. If you don't get the swimsuit newsletter, go on our website and sign up for it. And I send out reminders and the link on those. I don't send out a lot of newsletters per se, and I don't send it out just filled with stuff because we all are busy and don't have time to read all that. But we do have the following programs coming up. We're creating magic with the Nasi filters. Joshua Snow is putting that on. The printing and paper program with Veronica Cotter and Kevin Graham. I do a lot of printing. I love to print. So I'm really excited to hear what they have to say. Phonography just got scheduled. I had to add this. I had to change the slide this morning that got added last night. And Todd Nevillehurst is doing that. And if you recall, I think 2 years ago, he was with us. 2 years or 3 years ago now. He was with us. He was the macro guy. It was he and his dad. Very energetic young man. And I think it's going to be a really cool program. And then we had to reschedule our first one, the mirrorless camera program. Noah Buchanan from Hunts was doing that for us. Sony and
Cameron.
yes, are both going to be on that with him, and he got ill. It was not COVID, thank goodness, but he did get sick, and he had to reschedule that. He was actually giving a program out at Moab that day, and he had to leave the program partway through his program, and we were that night, and unfortunately, we had to reschedule that one. So that's the reschedule on that. And there's one more that's coming out, and we're working on getting that one, and it's going to be on light painting at night. So those will all be free to all of you and your friends and the club. And yeah, so sign up, and links will be published. So once you sign into that, they'll give you an invite, and it's a cool thing. So thank you
Hey,
for having me.
Hey, Kelly, make sure you send me the updated info so I can update the website.
Oh, yes, I got 2 programs, the reschedule and this one. Thank you. I didn't think about that, Mike. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on to our digital competition? Any questions? You can unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It was great.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you for having me. And thanks all of you for being part of my pursuit.
It was very enjoyable.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
I'm
Jeannie,
gonna turn off my screen sharing.
yeah, turn off your
It'll take me
screen
just
sharing.
a second
Jeannie,
here.
did you want to make any announcements about print competition?
Oh, I didn't know if you had or not,
I haven't made any yet, so
because I had problems getting in, so I got in late, but yeah, starting in November, we're gonna do prints. We're gonna kind of try in November, see how it works out. It's gonna be in the newsletter. I assume, Greg, did you get my revision?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. We'll see how November works, and if November works good, we'll go on to December and we'll see how it works next year. Hopefully the world gets better. But you will have to get your prints to me, and I'm gonna have the judges come to my house one at a time, just because I'm a little paranoid sometimes, but we're gonna try it and see what happens. So all of those of you that were interested in being photographer of the year, you're gonna have to put in a few prints. So here's your chance.
okay. So if you're interested in print competition and submitting prints, be sure and read the next newsletter with all the details in it. And I'm sure Jeannie will also be sending an email out, but you will have to get the prints to her somehow.
Or you could get them to Jan. Jan will bring them
Yeah.
over to me.
Yeah, you can get them to me or to Jeannie, and I will get them to her, but it'll take a little
I'm
more
also
effort, but it can be
seriously-
done.
I'm also seriously thinking of going forward with training a few judges. We were going to do that in April, and then COVID started, so we may try to get some of you together via Zoom and try to go through that program. So I'll contact you about that.
Okay.
Those of you who are interested in being judges, I know I talked to a lot of you last year, earlier in the year.
Okay, any questions? Shay, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Are you ready to do the digital competition?
Yep.
There she is. Okay, I'm gonna be announcing, so we'll just go forward with this and as we normally do.
I'm trying to get it to go forward. There we go.
Okay, so this month our assigned category was waterfalls. For those of you, is there anybody here who doesn't know anything about competition? If so, please type it in chat. Do I need to explain how competition works to anyone? If you need an explanation, put it in chat and I will go forward. Give just a few minutes for anybody to figure out how chat works. Guess not. Okay, so let's just go forward. All right, first image is Bond Falls. Maker is Randy Nyhoff, and the score was 14. Falls in Northern Lower Michigan by Diane Durand, 12.
I see this.
Garden Waterfall by Tom Harrington, 11. Gooseberry Falls by Jeannie Quillen, 13. Gulf Floss Falls 2 by Kathy Kendall, 12. Haven Falls by Michael Cool, 11. Hidden Gem by Mike Burgeon, 12. Howick Falls by Stephen Bergstaller, 14. Laughing Whitefish in September by Ranger Steve Mueller, 12. Macatawa Wetlands, Richard Coombs, 10. Mineral Waterfalls by Jim Knapp, 12. North Carolina Waterfall by Larry Heidenberg, 12. Niagara Rainbows by Shaylin McGee Sarnes, 12. North Carolina Fall by Clay Groot, 13. On the Edge by Russ Barneveld, 12. Over the Edge by Jan Lewis, 13. Refreshing by Steve Port, 12. Rhine Falls by James Zeman, 11. Rocky Mountain Waterfall, Jack Eichner, 13. Tequamanon Falls by Evie Carrier, 11. Tequamanon Lower Falls by Karen Tower, 13. Utah Falls by Karen Mueller, 13. Waterfall and Mill by Larry Howard, 11. Water Falling by Diane Charvat, 13. Waterfall in the Fall by Rebecca Humes, 12. Years in the Making by Jim Shearer Jr., 12. Yellowstone Falls by Della Landhier, 13. Creative category. Abstraction 1, Larry Howard, 12. Butterscotch Bubbles by Diane Charvat, 12. Cityscape by Della Landhier, 13. Clock Tower by Russ Barneveld, 13. Drifting Along by Randy Nyhoff, 14. Lake Superior Star Trails by Jan Lewis, 13. Liberty by Evie Carrier, 12. Spiking the Punch by Richard Coombs, 12. Stairway to Heaven, Evie Carrier, 12. Water Dance by Michael Kuhl, 12. Witches Gulch in Wisconsin Dells by Stephen Bergstaller, 13. Captive Subjects by Jim Shearer Jr., 11. Holding On for Dear Life, James Seaman, 12. Neck and Neck by Jan Lewis, 13. Skyway Statue, Tom Harrington, 11. A Good Friend by Clay Groot, 11. Fence Me In by Jeannie Quillen, 13. Garfield Park Trees in Fog, Randy Nyhoff, 12. Hunters Point Park, by Michael Cool, 11. Just Me and My Hurricane by Jack Eichner, 12. Liam by Rebecca Humes, 12. Metal Critter by Diane Charvat, 11. Misty by Steve Port, 13. Reed's Lake Morning by Kathy Kendall, 11. African Cheetah by Della Landhere, 13. African Finch by Kathy Kendall, 12. Beauty in the Garden by Larry Heidenberg, 11. Bee Sipping Nectar by Ranger Steve, 12. Black Crowned Night Heron by James Zeman, 13. Brown Falcon by Jim Knapp, 13. Comet Neowise, Mike Burgeon, 12. Fall Mushrooms by Russ Barneveld, 14. Flightline by Steve Port, 12. Frog on Moss by Don Schmucker, 12. Green-Eyed Male by Ranger Steve, 10. Hungry Frog by Diane Charvat, 13. Odd Man Out by Jim Shearer Jr., 12. Pre-Flight Check by Jack Eichner, 12. Pretty Doe by Tom Harrington, 10. Red Wing Blackbird by Donald Schmucker, 12. Shadows of Water Ripples by Karen Mueller, 13. South Dakota Stars by Clay Groot, 12. Summer Beauty by Karen Tower, 11. Backlit Lavender by Shaylin McGee Sarnes, 11. Bass Harbor Light by Larry Heidenberg, 12. Beaches Home by Randy Nyhoff, 13. Chicago Reflection by Karen Mueller, 13. Country Nostalgia by Richard Coombs, 12. Fall Arrived by Ranger Steve, 11. Ford Lightning by Diane Durand, 11. Fountain Street, Russ Barneveld, 13. Happy Halloween by Jan Lewis, 13. Love Comes in All Sizes by Rebecca Humes, 11. Mackinac City Light by Diane Durand, 12. Mighty Mac by Karen Tower, 11. Musenberg Morning, Stephen Bergstaller, 13. Night Lights, Mike Burgeon, 13. Night Shoot, Michael Cool, 12. Nike and the Moon, by Evie Carrier, 12. Notre Dame at Night by James Zeman, 12. Peggy's Cove Light by Della Landhere, 12. Pink Flower Close-Up by Richard Coombs, 11. Red Poppy by Shaylin McGee Sarnes, 11. Rose of Sharon by Donald Schmucker, 11. Spider Boy by Larry Howard, 10. Sun Coming Out of Cloud by Kathy Kendall, 11. Temple Fortress by Jim Knapp, 11. The Awakening by Jeannie Quillen, 13. Tin Schoolhouse by Diane Durand, 10. Tower Clock by Steve Port, 14. Dancer in the City by Rebecca Humes, 12. Innocence by Jim Shearer Jr., 12. Laura by Larry Heidenberg, 13. Luke in the Cornrows by Shaylin McGee Sarnes, 12. Missouri Rancher by Larry Howard, 13. Fog Bank by Mike Burgeon, 11. Glacier Bay View by Tom Harrington, 11. Had to Stop by Stephen Bergstaller, 13. Himalayan Sunrise by Jim Knapp, 13. Moraine Lake by Karen Mueller, 12. Pastel Dawn by Jeannie Quillen, 13. Steaming Geyser Detail by Jack Eichner, 12. Sylvan Lake by Clay Groot, 12. Tequamanon Lower Falls by Karen Tower, 12. And that's it. Next month, it's Steps and Stairways. Again, we will be doing prints as well as the digital. Anything else, Jeannie?
Not that I can think of.
Shay, you can stop sharing your screen, please. Thank you. All right. Nothing else? Nope. Sorry, there's no snacks. Can't do snacks by Zoom unless you bring them yourself. But it's good. We had 32 people check in tonight. That's great. We'd all love to prefer to be in person, but seems to be working out okay this way overall. So anybody have questions,
How come
comments?
I don't see 32 people, Jan?
A couple of people have checked out already. Kelly's gone. There were 32 people were the maximum number that came in.
It says now there's 27.
There's
If you look at the
27
bottom of
now.
the screen.
And
Yeah.
Jeannie, before you had to move the arrow to see the next group of them.
Oh,
Yeah, because we're over 5, 10, 15, 20, 20. Once you get
Well,
over
that make a
25, you have to hit the arrow on the left or right side of your screen to see the last couple of
I
people.
see it now.
You can put it on grid view to see everyone, but you don't want tiny little dots.
Well,
of-
my grid view only shows 25 unless that's something you can set by your screen.
No, because mine's the same way.
I did record all of this, including the competition, though I didn't mean to do the competition part, but I will send a notice out to the club members of the recording so you can watch it again if you want. And those who missed it can see it. There was something else I was going to mention and it just flew out of my head. And I'll remember as soon as I end the meeting. But yeah, whatever it was, it's gone.
When are images due?
When are images due, Shay? It would be
I gotta look at the calendar.
November 4th, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
November 4th, so it's actually in a couple weeks. For those of
I also want Prince to come to my house by November 4th as well.
and not only does she,
And there's one other thing that you'll see in the newsletter. I want you to email me your title of your image, your name and title. That's new coming up.
okay.
So bring the images to, or the prints to my house, but at the same time, send me an email with the title of them.
For those of you who are on the board, we will be having a board meeting on the 11th of November, so you can put that on your calendar too. You'll get an email. I promise. Any other questions? Linda Van Zee, are you still here? Yes. Where's the grading scale we use on the pictures? That each judge scores each image between a 6 and a 15, and then the scores are averaged. So a 15 is considered a quote unquote perfect score. It doesn't have to be a perfect image, but it's an image that has lots of wow factor, and the judges were just blown away by it. An image that gets a 9 is closer to an average snapshot that anybody could take, and then from there on 10 on up, between 10 and 15 it's progressively better. So it's an average score of 3 judges score. Does that answer your question? Very good, thanks. So that's
What-
it, I think. Yeah.
One other thing, if anybody deadline for the November issue coming up is the 24th on Saturday at noon. So if you haven't submitted, get me your stuff. So.
Okay, all right. Any other comments, questions? I hope you enjoyed the program. It's good to see you all in your little Hollywood squares. And I hope that you were able to get out and enjoy the beautiful fall weather. We've had the colors this year have just been spectacular, so. But the leaves are
colors still
falling
good up
and,
north?
pardon?
Are the colors still good up north? Has anyone been up north lately?
It's probably getting
Lower.
past peak.
Yeah, I was up there 2 weeks ago. On the 10th is when I was up there. And it was, I mean, this is Traverse City area, I should specify. It was like peak there, so I'm sure now that's kind of dying down.
Go by the water.
Yeah,